Hello everybody and welcome to Forever Motorsports on Forever Sports. For today's How to Watch Guide, the Spanish Grand Prix this weekend, back-to-back Grand Prix weekends. We had Monaco last weekend, which saw Max Verstappen coming out in top in the biggest race of the year. And this weekend we are in Spain. And the big question is, how can I watch all the action? Well, first of all, if you'd like to keep up to date with everything, make sure you smash a like on the video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel as well. We will be live this weekend for all the F1 action as we were last weekend. All three practices, the qualifying as well as the race, kept keeping you up to date with all the latest news, timings, as well as live updates during all these sessions. So just, go and make sure you follow the channel and you'll be able to keep up to track with all the action. Now, the question is, how can you watch all of it live and in HD? And the good news is you can watch it on free. It is being shown on two free-to-air broadcasters. Today I'm going to show you how to use ORF, which is an Austrian free-to-air broadcaster. And so if you're in Austria, you can access it for free. If you're outside of Austria, however, you will need to use something called a VPN, which is a virtual private network. Now, we recommend ExpressVPN. All the links are in the description in terms of the guide how to watch all of the action. So go and check out the description. So first things first, you're going to get yourself ExpressVPN. That's the link in the description, and you're going to install it. Now, as you can see, that is what it looks like. So you're going to go to the three dots over here once you've installed, and click on the right hand side there. That's going to bring up all the various locations and stuff like that, which shows you where all the various locations are. And you're going to click Austria, and you're then going to click this big red, green button over here and to connect it. And as long as that is connected, you can then go to the ORF website and you can stream all the action. That's off there. Actually, you can see the HD ORF. So this is currently being live streamed right now. Unfortunately, if you're outside Austria and you don't have a VPN, if you go to that page, the stream will not work. And so you have to be connected to a VPN to make it basically geolocate your device to make it seem as if you are in that location. If you do it without a VPN, this is what it looks like. See, it comes up there with a warning base. It says because you're not connected over there, you can no longer watch it. If you have any questions, put them in the comments below. Apart from that, smash like on the video, subscribe.
The Monaco Grand Prix has come and gone, and despite their new upgrades, Mercedes don't seem to be any faster than the previous race in Miami. Or are they? Hello, and welcome to Forever Motorsports on Forever Sports. Today, we will be taking a deep dive into the upgrades that Mercedes brought to the Monaco Grand Prix, and whether this will enable them to fight further up the grid. Mercedes have been off the pace of the top teams since the start of the new regulations that were introduced in 2022. The Brackley-based team tried to dupe the rest of the grid in the first half of pre-season testing in Spain with a car sporting side pods. But come pre-season testing in Bahrain, before the first race of the new regulations, no such side pods were present on their car. I'm sure it had a few teams scratching their heads thinking if Mercedes had once again managed to design a car that would allow them to dominate the Formula 1 championship. But here we are, 1.5 years later, with only one win from the Mercedes outfit. For some time, a B-spec car has been spoken about, due to the overall lack of pace from the Mercedes team. And finally, in Monaco, Mercedes decided to ditch their zero side pod concept and conform to the standards seen throughout the rest of the grid. This B-spec aims to improve the overall durability and predictability of the W14 Mercedes, which has been wildly inconsistent for their drivers so far. Before we look at the upgrades, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for all the latest Formula 1 news and updates. 6 major upgrades form the basis for the W14B, which consists of the following. Front suspension. The first major change was to their front suspension. We can see how the top wishbone of the front suspension has been lifted as high as it can go to improve stability and predictability under braking. This design takes a lot of inspiration from the Red Bull front suspension, which has been called an anti-dive suspension. This allows the drivers to have predictability under braking and more confidence in the corners. This change also allows better airflow to the side pods, which improves cooling to the radiators and overall better aerodynamic efficiency. Floor fences. Another major change to improve airflow is to the Mercedes floor fences. The fences around the floor have been cambered differently to its predecessor, to allow better airflow to the rear diffuser. This increased airflow will improve rear downforce on the car and in turn improve rear stability. Rear wing. A new rear wing was also introduced as part of the upgrade. This new wing consists of a change to the upper wing flap element, which will improve the rear downforce to the car, as well as it creates a low pressure zone at the rear, which in turn increases the rear floor load and increases downforce to the rear of the car. Rear brake duct winglets. A smaller upgrade that can easily be missed is the addition of small winglets to the rear brake's cake tin. The cake tin is the shroud that covers the brakes. These small winglets create a small area of low pressure, which increases the load on the rear suspension. Side pod inlets. The most notable change made to the Mercedes is of course their decision to scrap their zero-sided design and conform to having side pods on their car. The new Mercedes side pods are much similar to the rest of the teams on the grid, compared to their A-spec car. These new side pod inlets are much higher and wider than their old spec, which improves the flow to the leading edge of the floor, as well as airflow to the rear of the car. This results in more load acting on the floor of the car, further improving efficiency and downforce. Side pods. The change to side pods on their car increases the area of bodywork that interacts and shapes the airflow that goes down the car. Their new spec increases the efficiency of the airflow to the rear of the car, which allows them to maximize the performance from the rear diffuser, as well as extracting much more downforce than their A-spec. It is clear that these upgrades have been introduced to better the overall aerodynamic efficiency of the W14B, as well as to improve the drivability of their car. The Monaco Grand Prix saw Hamilton and Russell finishing P4 and P5 respectively. Hamilton seemed to be relatively happy with the performance of the car with its new upgrades, saying after the race, "I'm really happy, we've moved forwards. Coming into this weekend, I didn't know where we would stand, so to take 4th and 5th is good points for the team. A huge thank you to everyone at the factory for the upgrades on our car." Roll on the Spanish Grand Prix, where we should truly get to see the full potential of the new Merc. With Monaco being a rather slow street circuit, it didn't necessarily show the full picture for the new upgrades. In Monaco you need a really high downforce setup, as well as having no long straights. It isn't comparable to any other circuit on the calendar. At least in Spain, fans should get a true reflection of what the Mercedes true pace is with their upgrades. It also gives Mercedes a chance to gather some good data to correlate between their old spec car with their new spec. Will these upgrades make Mercedes competitive moving forward? Let us know in the comments below. Also make sure to subscribe to the channel if you are new, and we will see you next time.
Hello everybody and welcome to Forever Motorsports on Forever Sports. For today's How to Watch guide, the Spanish Grand Prix this weekend, back-to-back Grand Prix weekends. We had Monaco last weekend, which saw Max Verstappen coming out in top in the biggest race of the year. And this weekend we are in Spain. And the big question is, how can I watch all the action? Well, first of all, if you'd like to keep up to date with everything, make sure you smash a like on the video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel as well. We will be live this weekend for all the F1 action as we were last weekend. All three practices, the qualifying as well as the race, kept keeping you up to date with all the latest news, timings, as well as live updates during all these sessions. So just, go and make sure you follow the channel and you'll be able to keep up to track with all the action. Now, the question is, how can you watch all of it live and in HD? And the good news is you can watch it on free. It is being shown on two free-to-air broadcasters. Today I'm going to show you how to use ORF, which is an Austrian free-to-air broadcaster. And so if you're in Austria, you can access it for free. If you're outside of Austria, however, you will need to use something called a VPN, which is a virtual private network. Now, we recommend ExpressVPN. All the links are in the description in terms of the guide how to watch all of the action. So go and check out the description. So first things first, you're going to get yourself ExpressVPN. That's the link in the description, and you're going to install it. Now, as you can see, that is what it looks like. So you're going to go to the three dots over here once you've installed, and click on the right hand side there. That's going to bring up all the various locations and stuff like that, which shows you where all the various locations are. And you're going to click Austria, and you're then going to click this big red, green button over here and to connect it. And as long as that is connected, you can then go to the ORF website and you can stream all the action. That's off there. Actually, you can see the HD ORF. So this is currently being live streamed right now. Unfortunately, if you're outside Austria and you don't have a VPN, if you go to that page, the stream will not work. And so you have to be connected to a VPN to make it basically geolocate your device to make it seem as if you are in that location. If you do it without a VPN, this is what it looks like. See, it comes up there with a warning basically because you're not connected over there, you can no longer watch it. If you have any questions, put them in the comments below. Apart from that, smash like on the video, subscribe to the channel as well. As I said, all the steps are in the description with the various links to them as well. Enjoy all the action. We hope to see you this weekend. And we will see you guys all very soon.
Hello everybody and welcome to Forever Motorsports on Forever Sports. I am joined by Reese and we are previewing the Spanish Grand Prix. The 7th round, what should have been 8th, but the 7th round of the Grand Prix season for 2023. And Max Verstappen very much firmly in the lead in the Drivers' Championship, and Red Bull alongside, of course, with the Constructors' Championship as well. So can this be changed? Will we see different things? Mercedes are sporting new upgrades they tested out in Monaco. Now we finally get to see them properly this weekend, and all these other fancy things. Reese, of course, is here with us. Reese, how are you doing, and are you looking forward to the weekend?
I'm doing well, thanks, and yourself, Mark. Yes, really looking forward to this race weekend. It should certainly be quite an interesting one after the Monaco Grand Prix. We have a lot of upgrades coming from some teams. Red Bull are bringing some upgrades. Mercedes will hopefully be getting to the bottom of their new upgrade package and extracting that full potential from it. Whether that will push them further up the grid, we will have to wait and see, but it should certainly be a very exciting Spanish Grand Prix in store.
Indeed, and let's just go to some facts about the Spanish Grand Prix, of course. So the number of times it's been held 63 times in the great city of Barcelona in Catalonia. And it was first held in 1913. I mean, that just tells you the history here. We're literally going back 110 years since the first Grand Prix was held here, which is insane if you think about it. I mean, quite incredible. So the most wins are currently held by Michael Schumacher with 6, and Lewis Hamilton also with 6. The most wins, though, for constructor is Ferrari with 12 wins in total. The circuit length is 4.657 kilometers, which is, for all of those who use miles, weird people, 2.89 miles long. The race length is 307,000 kilometers. What? Not 307,000. 307.2.
Yeah, that might be a bit
307. That would be ridiculous. 307 kilometers for the entire thing, and it's 66 laps in total. Now, of course, the big thing with regards to the Spanish Grand Prix this year, though, is the fact that they have changed the track ever so slightly, finally doing what most fans have asked for and what a lot of people have asked for with regards to changing one of the chicanes.
Yes, one of the final chicanes, well, it is the final chicane on the circuit, has now been changed for this race weekend. The last person to race on this old layout was, who do you think, Mark?
Oh, I can't remember.
Fernando Alonso, the
Huh.
only driver on the grid who has driven the old layout of this Catalonia circuit.
That's quite interesting. So, can Alonso use that for his advantage, or at least to hopefully have a little bit of an edge over the rest of the drivers? I doubt very much it's going to make any difference, if anything at all. And in fact, I've actually got a little bit of an article here going and saying that Alonso is not favoured much in Barcelona due to his little bit of a track record here, supposedly saying that it seems to the Aston Martin strength rather seems to show up more difficult in Barcelona, saying that it's going to be a bit of a difficult track for Aston Martin. So Alonso not necessarily being favoured for this weekend from this article here. So
I don't think you can count him out though. The race weekend hasn't even started, and people are already trying to count out the Aston Martin and Alonso. I mean, we didn't even expect him to be so competitive this year. I think he'll certainly be putting on a good show for us this weekend,
and of
nonetheless.
course, it is his home Grand Prix. Not just his own, it's Carlos Sainz as well. But nonetheless, the two Spanish drivers will be racing in Barcelona, which is their home country, of course. So the support will be huge. So Aston Martin will basically be having a home crowd, which will be fantastic. Because I think, as much as there are so many Ferrari fans in Spain, I think most people will be rooting for that green machine of Fernando Alonso. Yeah, but we should go back to the Spanish Grand Prix in general. And I mean, it's a very, very nice track. You know, it's a really, really good track for a lot of drivers. A lot of people do tend to like it. It's quite a difficult track, though.
It's a very traditional track in terms of it has a lot of long straights as well as sweeping corners. I mean, turn three is such a long, and such a fast corner. It's really puts your setup to the test. You have to be able to navigate through really tricky and technical sections, but you also have to be able to go through high speed corners. I mean, it's difficult for the driver and the engineers to set their car up. But once you do get it into that sweet spot, if you get it properly into that sweet spot, it really does award you quite nicely.
And there are quite a few overtaking opportunities around the Spanish Grand Prix, of course, because I mean, we go on to go and say just in the run up to the first corner, that whole straight is 613 meters long. So it's not too long in terms of it's from I think that's from the start line to the first corner. So that's still quite a bit of distance there for drivers to try and get past in the opening lap. And you know, Red Bull seem to have every now and then struggled a little bit. That's the only time they seem to sometimes struggle this season so far. We saw Fernando Alonso make a great dive on Sergio Perez already this season so far. I mean, is that another opportunity for people to maybe try and get ahead of the Red Bull?
I think it should provide a really exciting start of the race, but of course, Red Bull are still really looking to be the favourites, taking 100% of the wins so far this season. I mean, you'd really be stupid to say Red Bull are not going to take the win here again.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd like to see someone else take it for sure, but I think Red Bull are really going to be looking quite strong. They are also, they have also said that they are bringing some upgrades this weekend. I think it was one of the Red Bull team members just saying there that they're taking a bit of a different approach, though, coming here into the Spanish Grand Prix weekend with some upgrades. Saying, well, just reading an article here saying that the upgrades on the Red Bull are not the only upgrades we're expecting to see this weekend. Aston Martin are also expecting to bring some upgrades, as well as Ferrari.
Yeah, I mean, upgrades galore. It's basically what it's sounding like because you know Mercedes who haven't seen their full upgrades potential yet, and everybody's pretty much just upgrading over the last 2 weeks.
Yes, I mean, it's certainly better to bring your upgrades here. It's a much more traditional track where you can really correlate your data from early on the year in your testing. So it makes sense to bring a lot of those upgrades here. Whether they will be successful in making your car faster, I mean, Ferrari are really hoping to extract a lot more out of this new upgrade package to put them further up the grid, as well as Aston Martin are hoping to improve their pace by 0.2 of a second per lap. So, I mean, a lot of expectations coming here this weekend on those new upgrades.
Yeah, and I've just got an article open here. I'm just going to read a little bit of it. And it goes and says, with regards to predictions for this weekend, and it does pretty much agree with you. It goes and says, in terms of top speed, and especially with the DRS Open, the Red Bull is on paper unbeatable in Spain. And would you happen to agree with that? It's just that sentence there. I just saw that. I mean, is it absolutely unbeatable? Is it already a given that Red Bull will win this weekend?
Well, coming into the season, we didn't think Red Bull would be this dominant. And as I said already, they've taken 100% of the win so far this season. They are certainly looking undefeatable at the moment.
Yeah. So we move to the midfield, and it says tension in the midfield. And I just want to read a little bit of this. So it says, while the tension at the front is often lacking, there is currently a lot of competition in the mid and backfield. The differences there are small, and on a good day, for example, a team like Alpine can shine. See Monaco last weekend for that. Between teams like Alfa Romeo, AlphaTauri, Haas, and Williams, the margins are very small. So for those who look beyond the fight at the front, we can probably see drivers battling it out at the sharp end in Barcelona too. Unfortunately, these will not be for the win, but for the race fans, this will certainly be enjoyable as well. I mean, of the best of the rest talk, we look about with regards to the midfield. And leading into this Grand Prix, who do you think is starting to show signs of really just being that little bit extra, a little bit closer towards the top than the rest? Who's not quite shining as much as they probably should be?
Well, I mean, if you're talking about not shining, McLaren have to be number one on that list. I mean, they really have had a terrible start to the season. They had a little bit of a glimmer of hope last weekend in Monaco, but whether that's relative to the rest of the season, I really don't know. Monaco is just such an outlier in terms of tracks. It may have just been a bit of an anomaly for them to perform well in the race there. But I think if we're looking at best of the rest at the moment, Alpine seem to be doing really, really well this season. They've found a lot more pace in their car. They seem to be working really well with Pierre Gasly alongside Esteban Ocon. Ocon, of course, taking that third place in Monaco, certainly brilliant for them. And the Alpine boss is talking a big talk about the Spanish Grand Prix this weekend, saying that don't count Alpine out. They should also be quite competitive.
So Alpine, of course, with Ocon finishing on the podium, the first podium for Alpine this season in Monaco. Now, Monaco is, obviously, as you said, it's a bit of an outlier, so it's not necessarily a true reflection of all these different cars. But is this going to spur them on, as you say, for this weekend? I think we probably are in agreement to say Alpine of the best of the rest when you take away the top four teams, being Red Bull, Mercedes, Ferrari, and Aston Martin. You take those away, I do think Alpine is firmly there next as the next best team on the grid. And do you think they can try and maybe even compete a little more with the likes of maybe even Mercedes or Ferrari and Aston Martin, of course, because Lance Stroll
if Mercedes and Ferrari can't pull up their socks, I think they will be getting that Alpine just getting a little bit feisty and in the mix there. As you said though, with Lance Stroll, gosh, I mean he's really competing sometimes with the midfield, which is very disappointing. I mean, he's got a very fast race car under his seat. I mean, yeah, he really needs to just take more advantage of that. We've seen sometimes how he has a good race weekend, but with the likes of Monaco last weekend, it was just absolutely dismal for Lance.
I think the one thing I'm finding with Lance Stroll this season, because we keep talking about Aston Martin being the one team that seems to be challenging Red Bull. It's not necessarily Aston Martin, it's Alonso and Aston
It's Alonso.
Martin, because
Alonso is the number one point scorer.
Yeah.
Alonso is the number one point scorer in Alpine. Sorry, in Aston Martin, he's the only one that scored all of those points so far. And if Lance isn't able to score points at all, they're going to lose out on the Constructors' Championship to Mercedes.
Yeah, and I think that's the big problem that I lean towards, because Aston Martin's car definitely looks quicker than everybody else except for Red Bull. They are, for me, that car is firmly the second best car on the grid at the moment. And yet, only Fernando Alonso is managing to get that out of the car. Lance Stroll is sitting down, as you say, in 12th and 13th and 11th. And it's how concerning is it for Aston Martin, the fact that he seems to show it in practice, that he's got that pace. He seems to put in those really, really quick laps. And then even in qualifying, he'll get past the first one with a quick lap, but he doesn't somehow make it into the next session, because then he'll completely stuff up and ruin it. There's no consistency. Is it a huge concern for Aston Martin? Not that he's going to go anywhere, because obviously we know the family relations, but is this something that they really need to go and iron out and get done? And Lance Stroll really needs to take a look at himself in the mirror, perhaps?
I mean, certainly it should be a concern for them. I mean, Lance has been in that team for multiple years now. He's unfortunately the son of the owner of the team, so he's not going anywhere. But I mean, he should be quite comfortable in that race seat and quite comfortable in the team, knowing its structures and how it works. I mean, Fernando Alonso has come from a completely different team with a completely different car philosophy, has gotten into this new car, has learned how it works, gotten comfortable, and just absolutely hit the ground running and scored podiums throughout the season. Whereas Lance Stroll hasn't been on one.
Yeah, it's a big risk, big talking point with regards to Aston Martin. And can Aston Martin still manage to get ahead in the points? Lance Stroll needs to be helping out his teammate Fernando Alonso. He's doing everything he can, Fernando Alonso, but Lance Stroll needs to bring up his end. And that's, of course, to try and stay ahead of the likes of Mercedes. And we talk about Mercedes. Of course, their W14 upgrades that were brought to Monaco last week and now finally get to be seen in Spain. And I've got a little article here, and I'm just going to go and read a little bit into it. It says, the big intrigue heading into Barcelona is how Mercedes upgrades to the W14 will truly perform. Initially scheduled for the cancelled Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix, Mercedes debuted their bodywork, floor and front suspension in Monaco. Lewis Hamilton and George Russell both finished 4th and 5th in the Monte Carlo, although the unique nature of the street circuit meant it was difficult to assess their true performance. As Brundle put it, it's like racing in a washing machine. However, Hamilton, Russell, and team boss Toto Wolff felt there were immediate positive signs from the updated W14 and will seek to confirm its true potential this weekend. And speaking now, we were in the mix with Aston Martin and with Ferrari. On a positive note, that may be encouraging because we have never really been good here, as Mercedes boss Wolff said after the Monaco Grand Prix. But we really need to be careful. We have to go to Barcelona and collect more data. It's a new baseline. I don't expect us to be clearing Aston Martin and Ferrari there either. It is more about understanding, okay? What does this car do now, and what do we need to set it up? Mercedes currently find themselves only a point behind Aston Martin in their battle for second in the Constructors' Championship, despite appearing to have the 4th fastest car on pure pace so far in 2023. So, obviously, we're going into Barcelona this week. With those upgrades, now we get to see what's really going to happen. Do you think that they're playing it down a little bit just so that nobody brings expectations? Because they actually probably reckon it's going to be a lot better and they're going to really push a lot higher? Or do you think they're thinking, you know what, just in case it doesn't? Yeah.
I certainly think they are limiting expectations at the moment. They don't know exactly how well it is going to perform on a traditional track. They've seen how it's performed in Monaco, which, as I said earlier, is an outlier track. You can't really compare it to any other track on the calendar. But whether it will bring them a lot of performance, though, in Spain, we'll just have to wait and see until FP1, unfortunately. It's so hard to just try and thumbsuck whether we think they're going to be fast or not. It's, whether they can get the setup right, whether everything comes together. I mean, it certainly should be faster than what they were last year in that zero side pods design. It should bring them a lot more downforce, as well as, just stability and predictability for the drivers. I will be breaking down that, those Mercedes upgrades very shortly. The video should be up quite soon, before the race weekend gets underway, of course, and that will explain in much more detail the upgrades that Mercedes are bringing to Spain and had brought in Monaco.
Yeah, and I think we talk about Mercedes as well now. They're quietly going about their business, though, even though they've got such huge car troubles this season, and hopefully they reckon that they might well have taken huge strides towards fixing that, as you're going to explain. But, we look at Mercedes in terms of their points and their performances in all of the races, and obviously they're supposed to be challenging right near the top. They're supposed to be challenging for first place, challenging right alongside Red Bull. That's supposed to be where they are. They're not. At the end of the day, they're not. But they are very quietly going about, very consistently coming in that 4th, 5th place every race. And they seem to be, that's a team, I think that's a good example of both teammates doing enough in terms of matching similar sort of positions, 5th and 6th, and 4th and 5th, and 6th and 8th sort of thing, getting good consistent points every race weekend. Now, is that going to help Mercedes, obviously, going for the rest of the season, when you compare it to the likes of Aston Martin and Ferrari, where they just seem to have such big outliers between the two drivers?
Yes, when you're getting that consistent double points haul from both of your drivers, if none of them are crashing out or retiring due to technical issues or anything, then of course you're going to be favorable for the not drivers championship, unfortunately, but for that constructors championship. And we see how close they are to the Aston Martin, just 1 point away, even though Fernando Alonso has religiously finished in 3rd place throughout the season, as well as 2nd, of course, in Monaco.
Yeah. So Mercedes quietly going about their business to take that second place at the moment, but could Aston Martin finally take it? But we talk about the other team in that big four, and that is Ferrari. Ferrari, of course, also bringing some upgrades to hopefully improve the Sunday form.
Yes, Ferrari are supposedly pushing like hell, according to this article I'm reading at the moment. They are bringing some major upgrades for its car here in Barcelona. They seemingly are not very happy at the moment with the pace of their contender and will be wanting to make significant gains here in Spain.
Yeah, and I've also got an article here and just got a quote here. It says, "This week we will have a better view of the race pace," said team principal Fred Vasseur, and Barcelona is more relevant and we will have a better view of the situation. I hope that we will do a step forward in Barcelona, but it won't be the end of the development for the car. Now, of course, it won't be the development. We're still only 7 races in of a 23-1 season. So...
yes,
there's a lot of races still to come, and Carlos Sainz, of course, the other Spanish driver on the grid, racing for Ferrari, he's got a lot of pressure currently being placed on him, of course, with all the rumours with regards to Hamilton and all these other things happening. I mean, how important is it for him to perform well in Spain? Can he get that Ferrari over the line, get himself perhaps even a podium?
I think it's very important for Carlos Sainz at the moment. Of course, there are all of those rumors about Lewis Hamilton wanting to join Ferrari or in talks about joining Ferrari. And of course, that race seat is going to be taken away from Carlos Sainz. They're never going to take the race seat away from Leclerc at the moment. He is Ferrari's golden child, really. And I think really Sainz has it all to lose at the moment. So he does need to try and constantly outperform his teammate, which he did last weekend in Monaco.
Yeah, and just to end off here, of course, a little bit of news, of course, for the week, is that Mercedes are finally putting a different driver into their car this weekend, and that is the old face of
Mick Schumacher. But unfortunately, it's actually not for this weekend, Mark. It's for a Pirelli test happening after the Spanish Grand Prix, yes. But still very, very exciting to see Mick Schumacher getting into a Formula One seat, and specifically into that Mercedes seat.
Yeah, and just want to go read the article here. And the German will get his chance in the car on the second day of running after George Russell goes to work on Tuesday, and team principal Toto Wolff is excited to see what Schumacher can do. After the Grand Prix weekend, Mick will also get his first real-world taste of the W14 on the second day of the Pirelli tyre test, said Wolff. He has done a great job with the team so far, working hard back in the simulator and giving valuable input trackside. We're looking forward to him getting his first taste of on-track running this year, and sure it will help him in his role as reserve driver. This test comes after FP1 and FP2 sessions at this weekend's Spanish Grand Prix, where the teams will be given 2 additional sets of tyres featuring a new construction that are set to make their debut at the British Grand Prix later this season. So Mick is back in a Formula One car. Do you think they're going to use this as a little bit of a taster and a teaser to see how quick is Mick actually going around the track, just on the side, like a little portion? They're going to think, how quick is he actually going around? Because if he's getting very close to the likes of Hamilton or whatever, we've got other teams that are running Mercedes engines. We might well just say to one of those drivers, say, hey, get out of your chair, Mick, get back in.
Well, definitely, I think there will be benchmarking Mick against George Russell, who's also taking part in that Pirelli testing. But I think as well, it's just extremely beneficial for Mick and Mercedes, as it helps them just get Mick a little bit more comfortable in their car, should he ever have to take that reserve driver role, should anything happen to Lewis Hamilton or George Russell, as well as it helps him when he's in the sim. It just helps him know if the sim feels a little bit different to how the actual car is performing out on track.
Yeah. So lots of things to happen this weekend, but we're looking forward to the Spanish Grand Prix, of course. Predictions, Reese, go. Top 5.
Top 5. You're always throwing me in the deep end here, Mark. I'm going to say Max Verstappen, Fernando Alonso, Carlos Sainz, then Sergio Perez, Esteban Ocon, and Lewis Hamilton.
That's 6 drivers that you've just named, but I'm going to accept it.
There we go.
That's quite incredible. I love the top 3 prediction. Max Verstappen on top, that's pretty much standard. But Alonso in second, finally moving up. He's of course got second last weekend as well. But will he get a second place a second weekend in a row? That's also a big call. And Carlos Sainz, you're putting a Ferrari on podium, and 2 Spanish drivers in their home Grand Prix on the podium as well. So that's quite a brave call. And then not only that,
it would certainly be very fun to watch.
You just put Sergio Perez in 4th, Ocon in 5th, and Hamilton, you said, in 6th.
I don't know, just mixing it up a little bit.
Leclerc is not in there.
He dropped out of my mind, unfortunately, when I was giving my prediction, but you never know. We could see Charles Leclerc getting in the mix for the top 6.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to make a prediction here, and I'm going to say first place Max Verstappen, second place Fernando Alonso, third place Charles Leclerc, fourth Sergio Perez, fifth Carlos Sainz, and sixth I'm going to go with Russell, actually. I'm going to say Hamilton's in seventh. I'm going to go sixth as Russell. So that's my prediction, both of us ending with a sixth place Mercedes. Yeah, well, of course, you guys can make your predictions. Let us know in the comments as well. And be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel, guys. We will be, of course, live streaming all of this weekend for the Spanish Grand Prix. From me, Mark, and from Reese, of course, you've been watching Forever Motorsports on Forever Sports. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.
Hello everybody and welcome to Forever Motorsports on Forever Sports. For today's How to Watch guide, the Spanish Grand Prix this weekend, back-to-back Grand Prix weekends. We had Monaco last weekend, which saw Max Verstappen coming out in top in the biggest race of the year. And this weekend we are in Spain. And the big question is, how can I watch all the action? Well, first of all, if you'd like to keep up to date with everything, make sure you smash a like on the video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel as well. We will be live this weekend for all the F1 action as we were last weekend. All 3 practices, the qualifying as well as the race, keeping you up to date with all the latest news, timings, as well as live updates during all these sessions. So just, go and make sure you follow the channel and you'll be able to keep up to track with all the action. Now, the question is, how can you watch all of it live and in HD? And the good news is you can watch it on free. It is being shown on 2 free-to-air broadcasters. Today I'm going to show you how to use ORF, which is an Austrian free-to-air broadcaster. And so if you're in Austria, you can access it for free. If you're outside of Austria, however, you will need to use something called a VPN, which is a virtual private network. Now, we recommend ExpressVPN. All the links are in the description in terms of the guide how to watch all of the action. So go and check out the description. So first things first, you're going to get yourself ExpressVPN. That's the link in the description, and you're going to install it. Now, as you can see, that is what it looks like. So you're going to go to the 3 dots over here once you've installed, and click on the right hand side there. That's going to bring up all the various locations and stuff like that, which shows you where all the various locations are. And you're going to click Austria, and you're then going to click this big green button over here to connect it. And as long as that is connected, you can then go to the ORF website and you can stream all the action. That's off the app. So you can see the HD ORF. So this is currently being live streamed right now. Unfortunately, if you're outside of Austria and you don't have a VPN, if you go to that page, the stream will not work. And so you have to be connected to a VPN to make it basically geolocate your device to make it seem as if you are in that location. If you do it without a VPN, this is what it looks like. See, it comes up there with a warning base. It says because you're not connected over there, you can no longer watch it. If you have any questions, put them in the comments below. Apart from that, smash like on the video, subscribe to the channel as well. As I said, all the steps are in the description with the various links to them as well. Enjoy all the action. We hope to see you this weekend. And we will see you guys all very soon.
Hello everybody and welcome to Forever Motorsports on Forever Sports. We are live here for the F1 Free Practice 3 and you're with me, Mark, and Reese will be joining us in just a little bit. He's just quickly setting up his PC. and then will be on with us as well very shortly. So yeah, lots of course to look forward to today with regards to the last practice session in Spain before we head on into qualifying later today. And of course you can catch that on Forever Motorsports as well. And be sure to subscribe to the channel and like the video, and turn on notifications for the channel so that you can be notified when our streams start, so that you do not miss any action whatsoever on the channel. And if you guys are looking for a way to watch any of the Formula 1 and you want to see the actual cameras and you want to see what's happening and have the F1 stuff happening, you can go and look at the description of the video, and you can find there a whole instruction on how you can go and watch this Grand Prix. So yeah, and it's all for free as well, and legal, which is even better. So yeah, be sure to go and check that out. And of course, we're just about 8 minutes away from heading on into free practice 3. So just pretty much want to try and organize my host chair, well, my part-time partner who's coming up right now. I'm just going to quickly copy him into the I'm just going to copy him into the stream quickly. I'm hoping that he can hear me. I'm just going to copy his link in here. But yeah, guys, let me know in the comments what you think is going to happen today in free practice 3, because of course lots could of course happen. And we saw yesterday a lot of bottoming out from some of the cars, which I think was interesting, of course, to note. Porpoising we thought was the thing of the past, and it seemed to return a little bit yesterday, especially onto that final corner. So that was interesting to note. And yeah, I do see that we have Reese is currently in the stream. Hello, Reese. He is joining us, but I just want to see whether or not his sound is working. I just want to see whether or not there's any sound that's happening. Of course, Reese is currently on screen, so everyone can see him, and so you can wave to everybody and say hello. And let us know, everybody, your thoughts of what's happening today. Just want to quickly just make sure this is all working fine. I think it is. I don't think you can hear us. I think it's half the problem. And then, yeah, again, just let me know, guys, in the comments what you think is going to happen in this session. Of course, we will have the timing board updated for you. That's just the timing boards from yesterday's practice 2. So that will be all updated, of course, with practice 3 starting now. So just want to get Reese's volume in here, because everybody can't see him, of course, but we'll just get him in. We're just about 6 minutes away from free practice 3. And again, guys, let us know in the comments. And if you guys are new, of course, again, be sure to subscribe to the channel. And let me know your thoughts. Ask me some questions. Red Bull, then Aston Martin, then Alpine, says Varun. Says Red Bull, then Aston Martin, then Alpine. As in, what, the quickest times? I mean, it's brave to have Alpine up there, so I suppose that's quite cool to have. So, yeah, I mean, having Alpine quite high up there is an interesting guess there, but yeah, that'll be good to see, of course. But yeah, I think Red Bull pretty much will stay first and second in the time trials there. So I'm hoping Reese can hear me now, and if he can, he's just going to give me a little thumbs up. And if Reese can hear me with a thumbs up, fantastic. So Reese can hear me, and I'm about to turn on Reese's microphone now, so Reese can have a chat with all of you as well. And Reese, you're going to let me know, what are your thoughts coming into today? I mean, do you think that anybody else stands a chance with regards to taking on Red Bull?
Well, they were certainly very competitive yesterday in FP1, but it seemed to be like the grid was a little indicator for qualifying today as well as the race, that possibly people can be a little bit closer than we expected here.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully that is indeed the case. And I think the one team I want to look at, of course, just before we get into free practice 3 is one we've not really talked about much this weekend, and they are bringing in upgrades to to the Spanish Grand Prix, and that is a Ferrari. And do you think Ferrari could improve today, hopefully?
Well, Ferrari have brought, I think, the biggest upgrade package out of everyone here this weekend. It's a massive upgrade package. Certainly has changed quite a lot down the side parts of the car as well as at the rear. But, I mean, they do seem to be very competitive, but Aston Martin are also looking very strong out there at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, Aston Martin, of course, leading the way a little bit in terms of the rest of the pack. I'm hoping that Aston Martin have brought the most upgrades this week, and I'm hoping that they really start to challenge Red Bull in this session as well.
Yes, well, Fernando was very quick out there yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, Fernando Alonso doing very well, of course, in his home Grand Prix. Carlos Sainz also having a home Grand Prix in Spain, of course. And Sergio Perez, I think, is another one we look at. And, if you look at our little runner of text down beneath there, he also says he cannot afford any more slip-ups this season. Otherwise, it'll get away from him. So how crucial is it that he does well today and gets himself very high up in qualifying? Can't afford to make a mistake, just like last week, of course, where he crashed out in qualifying 1.
Yeah, Sergio Perez really needs to be able to pick it up a bit if he wants to be able to take the fight to Max Verstappen for the for the Drivers' Championship. I mean, he's already fallen down in the points quite a lot with not even finishing in the points in Monaco. So it will certainly be very, very difficult mentally, I think, for him to be able to bounce back here. It will be very important, though, from a mental standpoint as well, to still be competitive against your teammate.
Yeah, so Max Verstappen obviously led the way yesterday in free practice 3. He set a 113.9 and Alonso set a 114.07, just 0.1 seconds behind Max Verstappen. That was Alonso, of course. So very, very close to that Red Bull time. So I'm hoping that we're going to see Fernando Alonso really challenge Max Verstappen right at the top there.
We've seen him get quite close in some qualifying sessions. So, I mean, it's Fernando Alonso's home track. He's the only person who is currently on the grid that has raced at this circuit layout. I'm really hoping Fernando Alonso can pull one out of the bag here today.
Yeah, as am I, and I think most people at home as well. And Reese, of course, you did a fantastic video, which people have very much appreciated. With regards to Mercedes upgrades, but can you just, for the live audience right now, we've got 55 seconds until free practice 3 starts, but can you just inform people some of those upgrades?
Yes, well, 6 fundamental parts brought to the Monaco Grand Prix consisted of that upgrade. So they had a new rear wing that they brought. It was also a bit circuit specific due to Monaco Grand Prix needing such high downforce. But they also brought some rear brake duct winglets. Then they also brought a new front suspension, which helped in terms of anti-dive and stability in the corners. It's very similar to the Red Bull front suspension, which is quite interesting that they have taken some inspiration from the Red Bull team. Then they also brought, of course, the new side pods, which were the big talking point about that car. They had much higher and wider side pod inlets, which increased the amount of cold air going to the radiators, as well as helping for shaping the air going down to the diffuser of that car. Then they also had, what was the fifth one? Fifth one was floor fences, which they have slightly cambered differently to allow some better airflow as well down to the rear of the car. And then the last one was, of course, the shape of those new side pods being similar to the Red Bull spec side pods, incorporating a little bit of the Williams and McLarens in that as well.
Yeah, and as you finish up doing that, so fantastic for that. Yeah, fantastic. Thank you so much. And we do now have the green light for free practice 3. And every single car is making their way out straight onto the grid. It's such a busy pit lane. And of course, this is a big free practice session for everybody because, of course, this is where we're going to have the quali sims being done by everybody.
Yes, well, we got some qualifying sims yesterday in free practice 2, but we should see. It looks quite cold today out there, Mark. Not as sunny as it was yesterday.
Which is probably a good thing as well, because later, if it does even clear up a little bit, it's going to be very similar sort of temperatures to this right now. So probably a good thing. Except we can see a lot of lightning in the distance there. We're just seeing a replay here of that weather.
Oh wow!
So
very,
yeah,
very
I think maybe that's why everybody's rushing to get out of the pit lane there. They're thinking maybe rain's going to affect the session, so they really want to get these qualifying sims done so that they are 100% ready for later's qualifying session.
I wonder if we'll get some, as I see some more lightning being shown on the replay, I wonder if we'll get some rain in qualifying later this afternoon.
That will throw a huge spanner into the works, obviously, if we do have rain during qualifying. And Russell there, again, you see it always, Russell says, is that rain still coming for the start of the session? It says affirmative, yeah, it will be light rain to start with then increasing intensity. So, yeah, we really want to try and get these guys out and doing qualifying sims as quickly as possible before the rain starts to affect them.
Yes, it would be nice to see some running, as we do see some overtaking happening already on their outlaps. But that rain system doesn't look to be too massive, so hopefully it won't stay with us for the entirety of the session if it does eventually hit.
Which is what they're trying to do down at
We see currently
a few teams though taking a slightly odd tyre decision, and that's the AlphaTauri.
So just hearing that the rain is expected to come in at which is in about 8 minutes time, so not very long until we get that rain coming to the circuit.
So yeah, I mean, of course, we've got lots happening with regards to today's practice session. Sargent currently leading them all out, and Albon as well behind that. The two Haas's behind that, Magnussen and Hulkenberg, and then we've got Alex Albon currently going around. Sorry, I just wanted to. Sorry, I interrupt myself. Alex Albon now going around in second place. So, well, I say second place. He's currently the second car, setting a time lapse. So let's see what sort of lap he puts in. Of course, everybody's on the soft tire, and we will see how that fares.
Yes, Alex Albon and Logan Sargent at the front of the queue at the moment, doing their first hot laps for this P3 session. Alex Albon not doing too badly at the moment.
No, not indeed. So we're looking for about 114s, I think, would be a good benchmark here. If you get into the 114s, that's going to be quite a good time. Of course, Max Verstappen managing to get into the 113s yesterday. 115.8 for Albon there. So a little bit off of that. A second sort of thing to make himself very much competitive for qualifying later.
We now have Max Verstappen coming up towards the middle sector, so I wonder if he's busy on his hot lap at the moment. I would assume he is. It does look like he is pushing. He's put in the fastest first sector at the moment. His fastest first sector yesterday, I think, Mark, was 20 seconds dead. 20.0.
I can't quite remember, but I know that Max Verstappen, as you say, has just set the fastest first sector. So, yeah, I'm sure he will be pretty much quickest this session, but let's see how close everybody can get behind him. Perez has just set a 113.9, just by the way.
Very good lap from Sergio Perez. Max Verstappen now at the second DRS point on the circuit, up on his personal best time in the middle sector, but not competing against Sergio Perez's middle sector at the moment. Let's see what Max Verstappen can pull out of the bag, though, in that final third sector.
And good morning to everybody, of course, it is in the morning for you, and otherwise afternoon and evening to all of those joining us on the stream. We're very happy to have you all here. Let us know where you're watching from, where you're tuning in from, and your thoughts on the session and the weekend so far. I've got a couple of people here saying from Guyana and saying, good morning, go Aston Martin. So, yeah, lots of comments coming in, so keep it coming, guys, and yeah, we'll go and have a look at that as well.
Max Verstappen has taken that top spot at the moment with a 113.6 mark, so not too much to worry about from the Dutchman at the moment, as he is around 300s up on his teammate.
Very interesting to note, I think, whilst he's just said that, is also the two Mercedes of Hamilton and Russell currently sitting in third and fourth, a 114.1, which is just 0.05 seconds off of Alonso's time yesterday, which was the second fastest time. So Mercedes may be showing that upgrades can do quite a bit of work today, maybe?
Yes, they do seem to be finding some pace out there on track at the moment, which is certainly brilliant for all of us fans to see that Mercedes are hopefully getting to the bottom of their issues. I'm just waiting to keep an eye out now on those Ferraris who seem to be on outlaps. I will be watching their hot laps with keen anticipation, Mark.
Yeah, I mean, the Ferraris. We were just watching a replay of Carlos Sainz going around, and my word, lots of shaking on that front right tire, and the whole car is
oscillation
really
coming as he's going. Yeah, a lot of oscillation through that front right tire after he's going over those curbs there. Very aggressive curbs that we do have here in Spain. I think you even complained about it on the Formula One game, Mark.
Yes, the bollards are very, very much unforgiving in Spain.
Not Max Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton complaining on the radio saying drivability is still not great. So still not 100% happy with the upgrades on his car at the moment.
Yeah, maybe that's just, I think he's maybe just trying to see if they can sort of somewhat adjust the car a little bit more because, maybe they were sandbagging yesterday because these times are a lot quicker than they put in yesterday, of course. Maybe they were just trying to hide the performance of the cars, and now they're just trying to unleash them, and maybe as a result of that, something's not quite right. I don't know.
Well, we have Carlos Sainz at the moment on a hot lap, not being able to match Max Verstappen's first sector time, but we saw Max was slow in his final 2 sectors, so maybe Carlos Sainz can compete with the Red Bulls over there.
That's
coming through.
Sorry,
carry on.
No, you're carrying on. You're commentating the race. That's more important.
Carlos Sainz now making his way through turn 9, opening the DRS for that second DRS straight, making his way up to turn 10, the very long left-hander. Looking neat and tidy, very, very close there to track limits, though. Now making his way through turn 11 and 12, approaching that final long 2 corners, which is the new sector that was put in after they took out their final chicane. Now making his way around the last corner, DRS wide open, coming down that main straight, and puts himself in 4th, right in between Lewis Hamilton and George Russell. So it is Hamilton, Sainz, and Alonso P3, 4, and 5.
Yeah, Alonso a little bit slow compared to yesterday's time. Hopefully he's going to speed that up. I mean, when I say a little bit slow, he was 0.15 seconds off, but I think he definitely has a lot more pace on him. You just see a replay there of Carlos Sainz going slightly into the gravel there as he comes around that second to last corner. So, not great for those tires.
Still a bit of pace then to come from him with that little mistake.
And just seeing another replay of another corner there where the car just seems to be really hitting those bollards quite hard and at least the curb quite hard. So, I think something Ferrari needs to take note of. I think otherwise, if they can sort that out, they could find, as you say, some more pace. Ocon now starting a fast lap, and this is looking very quick. And Hulkenberg is on the radio. He says, started to have some rain on the visor, so that's not going to be good to hear for all of the other drivers. Oh dear, we have somebody in the wall. We have somebody in the gravel. We have someone in the wall. I can't see. There's just a huge dust cloud there. It looks to be
a McLaren.
No, Williams. I think it's a Williams. Yeah,
Williams.
Logan Sargent.
Logan Sargent.
It's Logan Sargent. A red flag has been called on the session. Red flag has been called on the session. And it's the usual culprit. And the Williams team are just losing their minds. I'm literally looking at their garage. They're hating it.
They look so upset. It doesn't look like there's too much damage to the car. You can see a little bit of a mark on the wall, but it doesn't look like those tires have been broken.
No, I think he managed to keep it out.
His front right looks broken, though.
I would love to see a replay as to how this happens because, I mean, yeah, it's
actually no, different angle now. That front right looks okay. Weird incidents. I don't even know where he is on the track. Turn 14, it says here.
So just to remind everybody, red flag has been called in the session. A red flag has been called, and Logan Sargent is the cause of that. He went round, as we said,
that's in the final corner, Mark.
Yes, indeed, final corner.
That's
as he comes
round. Very weird place to go off. I mean, you're on a right-hander. You have a ton of space.
Oh dear.
We must have just lost the rear end. Yes, had a little bit of oversteer.
Hits his back left into the wall first, so it might be a little bit of damage to that back rear left tire. So
he may have just broken a little bit of the front suspension, but I mean that should be able to be cleared relatively quickly, at least.
The only problem is that they did say that rain is coming in, so this is going to really ruin everybody else's qualifying attempts. So the times that you see right now, I'm not sure they're going to change immediately anytime soon.
Well, Will Buxton has already been saying there is rain in the pit lane, so It doesn't look like we'll be getting too many fast laps out here until this rain does move away. I wonder if we're going to get much running in the session, Mark.
Yeah, I think it's going to be maybe possibly a disappointing session, but hopefully the rain subsides quickly, or otherwise there's a way for them to make Logan Sargent here just being very stupid right now. The steward's just really going after him, and for some reason he's decided that he's going to somehow try and do it as well. He's going to walk right across the start finish line. Which,
There's still cars on the circuit though, so
yeah.
he will probably be getting a penalty for that or a fine.
Yeah, but if he decides to walk across the track, that's going to be very, very stupid of him, if I'm honest. Especially when there are regulations in place for safety and all these other things. So
I mean, we saw Sebastian Vettel riding a bike on the track and getting in trouble.
And there he is running across the track.
Yeah, he's doing it. I wonder if he'll get a penalty or not.
Maybe not. I think most cars have made their way back here. Just watching another replay of how he loses the chair. He literally just takes the corner too close to the inside line and just loses that front right tire. Well, just starts to lose it a little bit. Has to immediately
correct. He loses the rear there a little bit. He gets a tiny hand of oversteer. He feels that and then way overcorrects. Instead of giving it a minor adjustment, he just completely turns his hand. Of course, you can see the car does get a little unstable there, but he just completely bins it in the wall after that.
Yeah, and again, just a note funny on our graphic there, you can see it starts to rain on the graphic. That's because rain is now starting to come down a little bit in Spain and in Barcelona, so that's going to put a bit of a dent in the session. So hopefully the rain can subside quickly, or otherwise maybe teams. I doubt very much they'll risk it, but maybe teams will go out on a set of inters because rain is scheduled for a bit of the weekend anyway, and for qualifying. So maybe people need to go and have some wet laps.
Just hearing from Lando Norris, also when he was out on track, still saying that he could see some rain on his visor in turn 12. So it's quite near the end of the. Just watching over the Ferrari pit wall now, it is definitely raining out there.
Yeah, that rain is definitely coming down in Spain, and yeah, that's literally put a dampener on the session. Dear, sorry. So Logan Sargent walking very much with a bit of grimace on his face. Back to his Williams pits, and everybody's just staring him down, I think, because he's ruined the session for everybody.
I think he's mostly ruined the session for himself. Of course, the Williams garage will have a little bit of work to do on that car, depending on how much damage it has. Yeah, he won't be the most popular man in that garage at the moment.
So very much a rookie mistake.
Mark. Yeah, definitely a rookie mistake. I'm sure you have mentioned it, Mark, but whose upgrades will bring the most performance? That is currently our poll that we have running. Please do go and vote in that poll, as well as comment down in our comment section and let us know who you're supporting, as well as any other questions and comments that you do have for us.
Indeed, and nice to have all of you here, and just going through some of the comments. Joel saying, go Mercedes. Marianne saying, hi Mark and Reese. Well, hello Marianne. Naughty saying, Merc isn't hiding pace. Yeah, no, we don't think Merc's hiding too much pace, but they seem to be doing fairly okay so far in this session. And Simeon here saying, of course, it's Logan Sargent. Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of people would see the fact that Logan Sargent really struggling this season so far. And the weather conditions currently are being shown. The rain is currently down. Humidity is at 73%. And wind is at 11.5 kilometers an hour in a southeasterly direction. So very much looking like this rain's going to be here for a little bit. And hopefully it subsides soon. But again, I mean, do you think we'll see any teams try and come out in the rain with some inters on or something?
I mean, I don't think it hurts to get out and get a little bit wet. I mean, the teams don't necessarily like doing it the most because it does increase the risk of crashing a car right before qualifying. It's not the best thing to do. So I don't know if they'll get a lot of running if it is too wet, but yeah.
Just another comment here saying, Joel saying, Mercedes got 1 paint away from the Aston Martin. 1 paint away? 1 point away, so I think
maybe
that's what it means.
Paint,
yeah, 1 point. That
yes.
would make more sense. Mercedes just got 1 point away from the Aston Martin. So yeah, of course, if Mercedes can finish with both their drivers in the top 10, they're almost guaranteed to finish above Aston Martin this weekend, regardless of what Fernando Alonso does, because, Lance Stroll is just not able to do anything. Again, he's had one qualifying attempt today, and he was 1.09 seconds behind Verstappen versus Alonso's 0.6. So almost half a second quicker was Alonso. And Alonso, we know, can find more pace out there anyway. So, yeah, very disappointing from Lance Stroll so far this season. And really needs to start helping his team out, I think.
They're still busy clearing Logan Sargent's car, but once that is behind those barriers, we should get underway again very soon. Just waiting for a confirmation from the FIA when they will get underway. But when we do, it will be under wet conditions here in Catalonia.
Yeah, just seeing all the Spanish crowd there that's gathered and all fending off the rain at the moment. So fair play to all of those supporters there. Lots of different supporters as well. Lots of very interesting to see green in the crowd. Massive amount of green, of course, for Fernando Alonso, I'm sure. Huge amount of Aston Martin supporters in the Spanish crowd. Of course, Spain has also been a big supporter of Ferrari over the years. So I'm sure we'll see some more Ferrari supporters around the track as well. But interesting to see so many green caps for Fernando Alonso. Just shows how having a popular driver in your team can really help gain you some fans.
Yes, of course. They will certainly be selling out of everything Aston Martin themed this weekend in Catalonia. I'm very sure, because there are a lot of people coming out to see Fernando Alonso doing very well. I mean, it's pretty much guaranteed at your home race you're going to get a podium because, I mean, Fernando has just done so well this season.
Yeah, and just informing you that FIA has allowed the session to resume. It says the session will resume at 12:47 local time, which is literally right now. So the session has resumed, but nobody's making their way out of the track, obviously, because we do currently have some rain falling. So nobody's really risking it as of yet. Depending on how long this rain lasts, maybe we will see some cars come out, just do a couple of laps on the Inters and see how they fare, because it's not that heavy, the rain. It's quite light, but it definitely is raining. But you know, qualifying is predicted to have a bit of rain, so I think teams might well want to go and have a bit of practice.
Yes, well, if you do say that we have rainy conditions coming for qualifying, then I think it may still be quite beneficial for teams to get out there and just do some intermediate running.
And just looking at George Russell here, I mean, did you also see yesterday what happened with George Russell and being, his little incident with Piastri yesterday in practice? I seem to have somehow missed it. I don't know how I missed it. I think maybe it was when we were doing the big changeover. But where he went off into the gravel to get out of, to avoid going into Piastri.
Yes, I did watch that live, and I do remember talking about it on stream. You clearly were just maybe having a bit of a moment there. But yeah, I did see that moment, and it was quite dangerous, of course. I mean, yeah, it was very close between those two.
And who would you lay the blame on?
I mean, it's practice. We're just lucky there wasn't a crash between the two. Yeah, I don't really know who to lay the blame on.
Just another
Probably Piastri. I'll just say Piastri.
You're going to say Piastri. Comment here from Sarah saying Ferrari got some pretty some updates as well. Yes, Ferrari do have some new upgrades they brought this weekend, but we've not really had the chance to see them make too much of an effect as of yet. Of course, we're not going to see all of those true potential of all the upgrades until qualifying later today, and hopefully we will see a good qualifying session. And I'm hoping not to have any rain during qualifying later. As much as that might make it very interesting, it would spoil what could be a revival of some of these teams, in terms of their new upgrades, maybe hopefully finding them some more purchase in terms of time. You're looking at the likes of Mercedes and Aston Martin, especially Ferrari also there, but Ferrari's upgrades not as major as the other two teams, of course. So, yeah, I mean, it's something I'm very much looking forward to seeing, so I'm really hoping the rain doesn't affect qualifying too much later.
Yeah, I think we'll just have to wait and see. I think it's, yeah, looking alright for now. It looks like it may move around the track a little bit, but I think we'll get some light rain at least for next 20 minutes maybe.
Yeah, so if you guys are joining us for the stream, thank you very much for joining us, as we say. Let us know in the comments any questions you want to ask, anything that's happening. Of course, nothing's much happening out on the track at the moment. Nobody's going out yet. Lando Norris got some blankets on his tires there, but
hopefully we'll get some running from him.
Yeah, so I don't think they're going out quite as of yet. They don't look very phased about life. Nobody looks very phased, but let us know in the comments who do you think is going to provide some surprises later in qualifying and otherwise in the race tomorrow as well? And if you guys are new, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications. We'd love to have you here again. As we see somebody here, Joe Bauer, I think it is, of the FIA, he's carrying something very weird in his hand. Don't quite know what that is.
That looks like a piece of Logan Sargent's car. I did see a piece of carbon flying off of the car when he went through that gravel track, so that may just be the piece of floor or something that has broken off the car.
So very nice of him to go and deliver it personally to to the Williams garage. There's just a couple more comments going in here saying, why is Ferrari so bad? And Lando needs to leave McLaren. Two little talking points we can go on. Why is Ferrari so bad? Well, good question. And Lando needs to leave McLaren. Do you also actually maybe see the sort of logic in that?
It's difficult. I mean, McLaren have invested so much money into that little piece of carbon being returned to the Williams mechanic. Very, very funny to see that. But yes, I mean, I don't think I see Lando Norris leaving McLaren anytime soon. They've invested a lot of money into him and they have him in a multi-year contract. I think they have control of him until 2026, Mark, if not for longer.
Yeah, I mean, obviously people can buy him out of the contract and then he can leave early. But, you know, do you think he's ruining his opportunity to have left McLaren a couple of years ago?
Yes. I mean, he was offered a race seat by Red Bull, but no one wants to be teammate to Max Verstappen at the moment. He really does just dominate every single teammate he has. So I don't think Lando Norris would have necessarily enjoyed that second seat there at Red Bull. But yeah, if McLaren can maybe pick up their socks a little bit, then maybe he'll be all right. But at the moment, not looking crazy competitive out there.
Yeah, and Alonso for the podium again, says somebody. I'm hoping to see Alonso on the podium tomorrow. That would be great for him in his home Grand Prix, and of course for all racing drivers at home, and what racing drivers, racing fans at home. And just another comment here saying, how's Max Verstappen always getting the fastest lap? Well, it's very simple. He's probably one of the best, if not the best driver on the grid at the moment in the best car. So the two go hand in hand. And somebody else also saying, I feel Carlos may make it to the podium in qualifying. Well, I'd hope that he comes in the top three, but the Ferrari really does need to find some pace on those Aston Martins and the Ferraris. So hopefully that'll happen as well. Do you think Daniel Ricciardo will have a seat in Red Bull, Reese?
I think Red Bull are quite happy with Sergio Perez at the moment. I mean, he's able to act as a very good second driver. He's had some brilliant performances, a few race wins as well. He seems to be getting a little bit more eager, though, for a world championship, but isn't necessarily able to take the fight on to Max Verstappen too easily. But I don't see them getting rid of him anytime soon unless he really does drop off the pace as he gets a bit older.
Yeah, I think Sergio Perez, of course, will be there for a little while longer, as you said. But Daniel Ricciardo may well maybe take a seat in a different team, though, with a Red Bull engine, or a Red Bull owned team, of course. So maybe that might be something for him in the future. But at the moment, it doesn't look like he's getting a seat right now. Guys, depending on yesterday's practice, says Ricky, how promising is Mercedes according to you? Because I am losing hope. Well, I think, me personally, I'm going to go first here, Reese, and you can add on comments. I think
Go for it.
Mercedes do seem to have found more pace than they've had so far this season. They definitely, I think, have found a little bit more ease in the car, as much as Lewis Hamilton was complaining a little bit earlier in the session today. I think they seem to be on the right direction now, and if they can just stick to this path, I think they could quite quickly catch up to other teams and perhaps maybe even start challenging the Red Bulls in qualifying, if that might start happening. I don't know about you.
Sorry, just repeat that, Mark. I was listening to what the commentators
I just said they're looking better, basically. I think they should hopefully start, competing and qualifying in the next few races, because, of course, they just need to still refine these upgrades over the next couple.
Yes, I think it will take them a little bit of time to get used to their new upgrades, of course. It's such a big concept change to what they started the new regulations with. So they do have a lot of catching up to do, but they do seem quite competitive already. Not too far off the pace of the Red Bulls at the moment.
No, so as I say, so if this session, I was really hoping that the rain could subside quite quickly. But but not quite looking like it's going to happen yet. But I want to see in the session, because I think this is going to be the best session to watch in terms of where teams stand before going into qualifying, because of course they all do their quali sims. We could see the real pace of all these cars with the new upgrades this session. And Hamilton's still sitting in third right now. He's put in a very quick lap there, not too far behind the Red Bulls, at just 0.4 seconds. And of course, with more laps under the belt, he could improve those times. So could the Red Bulls. But, it's a little bit closer than they have been for a while. So probably good to see that. And we're hoping that we will see some more runs today in the session before qualifying later, of course. And maybe they get closer.
This track is also so important for teams to bring upgrades to, because of course it is such a twisty and turny track, but it is a very traditional track. It is a great track to watch in terms of looking towards the rest of the season, because it can really show you if a team is competitive in high-speed corners as well as the long DRS straights. It's very technical, so it really does give a great indicator for the rest of the season.
Yeah. Another comment here saying, and just asking a question, and that is, who's the better driver, Norris or Gasly? That is the question that's been asked.
Norris or Gasly?
Correct.
What? In what context? Just
driver. Who's better?
Oh, okay. Oh, that's difficult. I mean, Pierre Gasly's done very well in the last few years. He's taken a race win. Lando Norris hasn't had a race win just yet, so I'm going to say Gasly at the moment.
I say Gasly's a better driver than Lando Norris. I think that's a big call to make, of course. I think I'd probably back it at the moment. The problem is Norris can't really show his driving ability in that McLaren at the moment, so I would probably have to back that as well. So Gasly is probably the better driver at the moment. I wouldn't say necessarily in the future.
I mean, I'm not downplaying Lando Norris's abilities at all. I rate him very highly as a driver. I'm a big fan of his as well. But at the moment, I mean, Gasly is just really, really performing quite well.
And let's go to more comments here. So Mercedes is looking good. They are looking better than the last practices, but they have lost their edge to the game after Max Verstappen was introduced. I mean, that's not quite true, but I think it's more just since the new cars have, of course, taken to the grid. Mercedes didn't create a car as good as Red Bull did, so I think they will just need to catch up as quickly as possible. Next season, I'm hoping we'll see them start to compete a little bit more. Yeah, just a whole lot of comments starting to come in. Yeah, and guys, keep it coming, of course, because there's not much happening out on the track at the moment. Just about 32 minutes left of the session. It is green flags. Everybody's allowed to go out there, but it is light rain at the moment, so no one's
really interested in being the first test dummy out on track. So I think everyone's just waiting for someone to get out there and just finally get some laps in so that everyone else can kind of watch and take note.
I think the other problem as well is because, you don't want to risk putting the car into the wall, which is, of course, a lot higher when it is wet out there. So you can slip and slide a lot more, and it's far more dangerous conditions. But will we see anybody actually go out there and maybe risk it?
Well, there's going to be a very, very disappointed fan sitting there on the grass. She's wearing a Logan Sargent hat, Mark.
Oh, my word. I'm surprised there is such a thing.
Yes, I'm surprised that they're being sold. But yes, it's not looking very promising at the moment for too much running. It is very high winds out there, as well as quite a lot of rain, unfortunately, falling down on the Catalonia circuit.
Just looking at all the fans here, and again, I'm just quite interested with all the differences in fans. There's a lot of Aston Martin out in the cars today, and but I'm also seeing a whole lot of other teams which you wouldn't normally see. I'm seeing some Alfa Romeo shirts. I saw an AlphaTauri shirt. I mean, it's interesting to note that we've got fans of all types of constructors here instead of just the usual, Red Bull, Ferrari, Mercedes. So nice to have a big spread of fans.
Yes, it certainly is great to have a big spread of fans. I mean, Spain is also quite central well, not central, but it is quite easy to get to in Europe. So a lot of European fans will also be making their way there to the Catalonia circuit. So we should have a lot of different supporters from all over Europe.
And just quite an interesting concept here, and we can chat about that for a bit. And I think that is certainly an interesting talking point. You guys can let us know in the comments as well your thoughts on this. And Kevin has asked a question. He says, "Can we discuss?"
That's a great question.
Can we
I've just
discuss
seen
the
that
cost
as well.
cap? It says, can we discuss the cost cap? It says it's somewhat to blame for the teams not going out right now. They've eliminated the entertainment. Yes or no? And I think I would tend to agree. Yes, very much so. The problem with the cost cap is that everybody is, well, there's two problems. Not just the cost cap, but it's also penalties that you get for changing your car, of course. If your car ends up on the wall and you have to replace the gearbox because, well, it's completely kaput, you can be penalized for such a thing. I'd never understand the concept behind why that should be.
Yes, firstly, very, very good question, Kevin. Thank you very much for that. Please do send questions down into our comment section if you would like us to answer them on stream at the moment. But yes, I do agree with Kevin. I mean, as you said, Mark, if teams go out there and take the risk of going and driving out on the wet track, I do apologize, it just increases that risk of bending your car out there on track and causing massive damage. I mean, these cars cost a lot of money. A front wing costs around $150,000.
Yeah.
In a cost cap era, you don't want to take that risk of causing further issues further down your season. I mean, you might have a crash out on track where you would have preferred to have taken that $150,000 damage then, rather than a session now where you could have just stayed in the garage.
So do you think they need to change the way in which the cost cap works? Because the concept behind the cost cap, of course, the logic behind it is not bad. It allows the smaller teams to be more competitive because, otherwise the big teams like Ferrari can just keep throwing money at everything and permanently just have the best car on the grid the whole time, whilst the smaller teams don't have as much money, can't compete. And then, of course, we have an issue where we don't have anybody competing at all. But the problem is with the cost cap is that it's so low that, as you say, they put so much money into making the car. They've got such little amount of money to risk taking these cars out. But having said that, now Lando Norris has made his way out on intermediates. So we do finally have a car out on track. And I thought it was going to be Norris first. We were talking about him earlier. He has made his way out. But I think we can still discuss that topic of the cost cap.
Yes, I mean, I don't think that it is something that the FIA are going to change, or Formula One, the group, are going to change, because it does allow smaller teams to be able to race a bit more competitively, as well as it does make the sport more appealing to other teams to try and join, because they know how much it's going to cost per year. It's a bit more of a given, at least. We are watching, though, Lando Norris going around out on track as he does go straight back into the pits, unfortunately.
Yeah, just to go see the conditions, just test the waters, literally test the waters. And we'll get back to a couple of other questions still. But I just want to add another comment on that cost cap thing. I think the way forward should surely be a different way of going about the cost cap. So things they need to think about is like saying there needs to be a split of where the money can go. Of course, we look at Red Bull saying, oh, they've got their catering budget, which was increased, etc. And the cost cap is this. But do you not think that the cost cap should be limited to, cool, we've got a cost cap for development and everything before the season starts, that's our cost cap there. And then you've got another cost cap completely separate to everything before that, that's for the race. And that can be a bigger cost cap. And I'm saying the reason why is because, everyone puts some certain amount of money into developing the car, and then during the season you can't develop it nearly as much. And you can then extend that budget so that you can fix up the car, and in case your car is quite a bit slower than the likes of Red Bull near the top there, you can make quite a few changes to go and make yourself competitive as quickly as possible. So should the cost cap be small before the season starts and then quite a lot bigger when the season starts, so that you can't really change the car too much after that, so you're pretty much stuck with what you've got beforehand, but you can make enough changes so that you can afford to start to become more competitive instead of Red Bull just leading the way again after 7 races?
Yes, I mean, it's a very, very tricky situation. I'm sure we could talk about it for hours and hours, but unfortunately, I don't think it's as simple as allocating a certain amount before a season, and then it can only be a certain amount in the middle of the season, and as you say, onwards from that. But I mean, how are you going to enforce that? How are you going to make sure that the teams are spending that amount of money at those specific times?
I think there's one way of doing it, which is control. And how I would do it personally is that whatever the cost cap is and how much the teams are wanting to put into the money, they have to give the money to the FIA before the FIA can release it to all the teams.
Yeah.
That's my method of doing it, but that's just me personally. But it's fine. Anyway, we move on from that question, but it's definitely an interesting topic which we could go at length, of course. Somebody else saying, according to you, what has caused the turbulence or downfall of Merck in this new era? Reese, I think you know the answer to that.
Well, it certainly seems to be in the fact that they have gone in a completely different concept from the beginning of the new regulations in 2022. They, of course, brought those zero side podded cars to that first race in Bahrain. They didn't seem to be, well, they seem to be a little bit competitive in that first race, but going on throughout the rest of the 2022 season and so far as well in the 2023 season, they haven't been very competitive. They've only taken one race win, which was in Brazil last year.
So basically, we're going to put it down to the fact that they decided to go a completely different route, which was very much incorrect. They tried to be very innovative, as they always have been, but this time it didn't prove very beneficial at all. Having side pods is certainly the way forward. Maybe the zero side pods thing could be a thing in 2026, but certainly not in the current era.
I'm certainly hoping that we do get a little bit of a shake-up in 2026. I think Red Bull have just gotten these current regulations down pat, and I think we may be seeing them being very competitive for the next couple of years. So hopefully they introduce some big aerodynamic changes as well for the 2026 season.
And yeah, we do have a green flag, guys, here. It's just under 23 minutes left-ish, sort of around about there, left of the session, and nobody's really going out to track. We saw Norris go out on a set of inters just to go and test what the track is doing at the moment, but it came immediately back into the pits there. So not seeing any running right now, which is quite disappointing, of course, for the Spain crowd who's gathered here. They're all in there underneath their umbrellas and otherwise tarmacs, and this rain is just not subsiding at any point right now.
Did you say tarmacs? And the ponchos,
you know what I mean, ponchos or whatever.
So much Formula One talk that we get words a bit mixed up. But yes, unfortunately, no cars out on track at the moment. Please do though drop us a comment down in that comment section. Ask us questions. It will make our life a little bit easier to talk alongside with you. Only big talking point really about the session is mostly, of course, those upgrades, as well as Logan Sargent then taking his car off the track and causing the red flag of the session.
Yeah, and we've got, of course, the times at the moment. We see Max Verstappen already beat yesterday's quickest time. He put in now in this session a 1:13.6. I think that was pretty much his only lap that he managed to put it. So 1:13.6. His teammate Perez just behind that at 1:13.9. So only the Red Bulls once again in the 1:13s. Hamilton, however, in a 1:14.07, so very, very close to Perez's time there in that Merc. Sainz in fourth and Alonso in fifth. Now, those are pretty much the drivers that I'd said would come in the top five in qualifying as well as tomorrow. So, how do you think that's going to shake up in qualifying later?
I think it's going to be very similar to that. I expect to see Fernando Alonso maybe making his way a little bit further up the grid, but I think Hamilton should do quite well. I mean, he's in P3 at the moment with a brilliant lap there, not too far off of the Red Bulls. But whether those Ferraris will be able to make their way up a bit further, I don't know.
And here's a little question here. It says, liveries aside, which car's shape do you like the most? Oh, having said that, sorry, I'm just going to interrupt. The Ferraris are making their way out onto the track.
Are they on intermediates?
They are on intermediates, yes. I see an intermediate tyre being utilised here. So
yes, they are.
We can at least watch the two Ferraris go out, and hopefully they don't come straight back into the pits. The fact they're sending both out would tell me that maybe they're not, and this is going to be some quali attempts in the inter tyres, because of course, as I say, rain is predicted to affect qualifying later, so surely you would want to have a few laps on the intermediate tyre just to make sure that you know how to handle the track in these sort of conditions.
Yes, it doesn't look like it's raining too hard out there at the moment, so very, very light rain out on track, but it will be very important to get some running out there just to gather some data and at least get your eye in a little bit for qualifying in this next session. Just going back to that question, though, from Envy, asking us, liveries aside, which car's shape do you like the most? Well, they used to have the shape, but they have now changed. Ferrari had my favorite body shape. I mean, it was an absolutely beautiful car with those big, like, bathtub-style side pods. They have now changed to a more Red Bull-esque, Aston Martin-esque side pod, so they have changed it, unfortunately.
Yeah, I was about to say, the Ferrari for me did look like the best car. You know, obviously take away the paint and everything. The shape of it, as you say, was really, really cool, but now it has gone to a bit of a different shape. Not that it's not a nice shape. I'd still probably say Ferrari is one of my favorite shapes out on the track, but they have lost a little bit of that unique shape they had, which I thought looked very, very cool when it went around the track, as you say.
Yes, Carlos Sainz starting his first hot lap on those intermediate tyres coming through turn 1 now, keeping it quite far away from the paint. You do not want to hit those white lines. They will be very, very slippery out there at the moment with the rain on them. Track looking, though, dry enough for him to put in some good times. Now approaching that first sector marker, 3 seconds off of Max Verstappen's quali time.
Yeah, so, you know, we don't really know how quick they should get around at the Inters. Sainz going very wide there, just out of that turn there. So just want to see how quickly he can finish Sector 2. And I think these are going to set our benchmark pretty much for the Inter tyres. And maybe we will see some more teams risk it as Ferrari go and... you know, I appreciate Ferrari for doing this. They're the only ones who are actually going and making an effort here to try and do some practice in the Inters, and maybe it'll suit them well for later if it does happen to start raining. Maybe this is going to be very beneficial for them.
Yes, I don't think they are pushing too hard out there, though, at the moment. Carlos Sainz, 8.6 seconds off of Max Verstappen's hot lap. I mean, still good times being put in on those intermediates, but I don't think they are pushing all too hard out there. They don't want to take too big of a risk.
Indeed. And we're going to see a very slow lap here in comparison to Max Verstappen's 1:13. Sainz is going to put in a 1:26.1. Leclerc is also going to come across the line now. He's coming across right now, and he's put in a 1:25.3. So we see some more cars now joining them. They've gone and seen, okay, well, maybe we should go and have some practice. We see Magnussen and Ocon have also now come onto the track. So good to see some more cars coming out. Now we can actually go and have a look at what is happening this session.
Just watching an onboard of Charles Leclerc here into the braking zone in turn 10. Ooh, having a little bit of understeer, having to snap on the steering wheel there, but not going into the gravel, very luckily.
Yeah, and interestingly, he had that little bit of a blips in his lap, and it still went quicker than his teammate Carlos Sainz.
That's very interesting there. And another moment of oversteer into turn, I think that was turn 12 there, yes.
And just going back to some of the comments here, it says Ocon is doing great too. Who do you think will be in the top 3 today? And the situation of pinching engineers from a team to another, it affects the teams down the road. How's that going to happen? And isn't Oscar usually good in the wet? This, I think, being Oscar Piastri. And yeah, all these other questions that have been asked. And keep them coming. We will go and discuss some of them as we see them. But we do have some cars out to track, so we are just going to go and have a look at that. We've got just under 17 minutes left.
Red Bull are putting on some tyres now, though.
Yes,
so
indeed.
maybe we'll get some Red Bull running. We have a Haas out on track as well as an Alpine. So a lot of people deciding, yeah, maybe we'll get some running in now.
Well, yeah, fantastic for the Ferraris. Thank you very much, Ferrari, because you've spurred the rest of the grid into actually going and doing some practice today. So fair play to the Ferraris. They've motivated all the other pits to get going.
There's a good comment here from Wayanda Mujala. Can't be frustrated at Mercedes' efforts considering they are a year behind in development to the rest of the grid. It will take some time, but there's not much room for trial and error in Formula One, sadly. Yes, I do agree with that. They are on the back foot quite a bit now after using their A concept car from the beginning of the new regulations to now. They have finally brought those side pods. So they do have a little bit of work to do to be able to match the top of the grid, but they look quite competitive at the moment with Hamilton in P3.
Yeah, and of course, everybody in the comments and everybody's joining us a little bit late. We're not going to see any of those times get beaten, so that will pretty much be the finishing grid for today's practice session 3. But more interestingly, as we say, we've got the Inter tyre runs right now because of the rain, and Ocon's going around right now on his first fast lap on those Inters. And let's just follow the Alpine here and see how he fares into Sector 2.
It's amazing how these cars are still so so grippy, even on wet, well, in wet conditions.
Just interesting
Just
there from
hearing
Russell,
a
yeah.
yeah.
Just saying that it's definitely raining, but the track doesn't seem to be all that wet. So maybe an interesting point to note that maybe the track's drainage is very good, or the rain is very much light. So to race around the track is not as difficult as they thought it might be.
Well, if we do get a couple of people going out on these intermediate tires for long enough, it could cause a nice dry line, and then maybe we can get out on some dry tires.
Yeah, and we've just seen the fastest inter tire run there from the Alpine there of number 31, car 31.
Esteban Ocon.
So Ocon has just put in the fastest inter time at the moment, a 1:24. A very good lap there actually on the inters. Not too bad at all there from the Alpine. So maybe we'll see those times start to tumble a little bit more, of course, because we will see perhaps the Red Bulls come out, and as people are racing around, they'll get a little bit used to the wet conditions on the track, and maybe they'll take some more chances. Hopefully not ending up the wall like Logan Sargent, but maybe we'll see some quicker laps getting put in on these inter tires.
George Russell currently putting in a intermediate time at the moment. Interesting that we have the two Red Bulls now making their way out on track. Everyone pretty much deciding to get out on track. We only have Hamilton, Alonso, Leclerc, Bottas, Zhou, and Logan Sargent, who won't be getting back out on track. But the rest of those drivers are all in the pits at the moment.
Yeah, so good to have all of the cars pretty much out onto track. Most of them are there. Hamilton still need to make his way out, as you say.
Ocon's on a set. Oh, no, sorry. That's an old graphic.
Yes, no problem.
I was going to say Ocon's on a set of mediums.
Just looking at Russell right now. Let's see how he fares. Of course, we're trying to beat a 124 point, I think it was 4, set by Ocon right now. And let's see how he fares in that new Merc, that upgraded Merc, a 125.5-ish, 0.3 indeed. So not as quick as the Alpine, but we don't know how much they are risking there, of course. These inter-tire laps will be quite different. Lewis Hamilton just monitoring the times there that Russell was putting in, and he seems to walk away, and clearly he's happy with what he's seen, or at least he's content with what he's seen, and he can move on from that. Maybe he thinks about getting into the car, or does he not?
Just watching him, it doesn't look like he's going to get back into his car. He seems quite comfortable for the rest of the session. Looks like he was walking out the back of the garage there.
Yeah, and indeed, we've got another comment here, and just say, happy for Alpine, slowly finding themselves back into the fight. They still have a score to settle with Aston Martin. So yeah, Alpine starting to look a bit quicker at the moment. I do think they're a little bit off the pace of the Aston Martin still, but Alpine certainly the best of the smaller teams, I'd say. Aston Martin, I think these days, are considered a big team. So hopefully Alpine can start challenging near the top.
Good lap time being put in from Max Verstappen, though, on those intermediate tires, a 124.1 mark.
Indeed, so not all that much quicker than the Alpine of Ocon. So either Ocon took a lot more risks, or the Alpine seems to be all right there in the Inters. But also, of course, that was the first lap set by Max in this current condition, so we don't know how much quicker he could go around. 124.1, though, is the quickest one we've seen, I think, on the Inters. So hopefully Fernando Alonso, who's currently in his car, perhaps getting ready to get out there, and maybe he can put a quicker time in.
Yes, hopefully he will get back out on track very soon, as we see Carlos Sainz making his way into the pits. Maybe he'll pit and put on some dry tires. Yep. Good question, though, here in the comment section saying, I hope Xavi doesn't make the same mistake to Carlos like he did in the last race. Xavi is one of the race engineers down at Ferrari who has notably made some bad calls in terms of letting drivers know when there's traffic. I think Xavi messed up Charles Leclerc's qualifying lap in Monaco, if I remember correctly. He got in the way of his teammate.
Yeah, I can't quite remember, but yeah, I'm certainly hoping that there are no mistakes from Ferrari or anybody really. Don't want big mistakes happening this weekend. We want to see some good racing and, of course, some good strategy, especially from the likes of Ferrari, who have really struggled for good strategy in recent years.
Good question, actually, here coming from the Formula One stream. When will the FIA stewards give Logan Sargent's car back to Williams?
That's a good point, because we've just seen it rock up now that Williams Racing are getting close. Maybe this is it being delivered to the back of the garage. So
Yes, I think it is.
so yeah, that was very interesting. I suppose it has taken a long time for it to get there. And Norris just on the radio here, just saying how far are we from dry conditions? How far from slicks? I think everybody's really desperate to try and have some more soft tire runs again before qualifying later. So clearly the rain has somewhat subsided and it's not nearly as wet as it was earlier. So the track is starting to dry up. Maybe it is time for some soft tires.
I hope so. I mean, we have 10 minutes left of the session now and counting, but it does still look a little bit wet in certain sectors, but people must just stay out there for a little bit and run on these intermediate tires, and it should be able to clear the track a bit.
Another comment there from Wayanda, and also quite a good comment. It says, curious to see as to how close drivers will be able to get or follow through the final 2 corners. And I think that will be something interesting that we haven't seen yet, because I think they should.
I heard a very good note from one of the Formula 1 pundits there saying at the beginning of the session that they watched the Formula 3 race. I think there was a sprint race this morning.
Yeah.
And apparently you are able to follow much closer through that final corner. And it really does make the race quite interesting. So hopefully that will play into the race tomorrow, as Lewis Hamilton is still sitting in his box. He's got earphones in at the moment, so it doesn't look like he is prepared to get on track anytime soon.
No, and just going back onto that F3 race, I was watching a bit of the F3 this morning, and some of the overtakes that were happening were really, really great to see. And I think, if you guys are looking for a place to watch some very exciting races, do be sure to go watch F2 and F3, because lots of overtakes and lots of very, very cool racing happens there. Not obviously as quick and as prestigious as Formula 1, but still some very, very good racing to see. And just watching a replay here of Lance Stroll on those inters, just goes off into the gravel quite badly. Still manages to
touch the paint on the entry into that corner. He touched the paint by the curbs. Watch now on the replay. Yeah, he touches that paint, has a little bit of a lockup, and just goes wide onto the grass and into the gravel. It just shows you it is still quite tricky out there.
And Stroll, they're being instructed to box after making that mistake into the gravel. And he then asks why, and they all go and pretty much say, well, obviously, we need to check the floor. You might well have damaged it, you fool,
The engineers there on that pit were looking quite frustrated. I mean, you've got one driver who is performing so well in their car, and then you have another driver who's pretty much acting like an amateur at times.
Yeah, and just seeing quite a bit of corrections there from Norris as he just gets
He's
on
softs.
He is on softs, so that's why he's correcting. So we do have some slick tyres on. Norris clearly desperate to try and have a soft run, but I don't think the track's quite ready for him. You could just see there he's just starting to slide around a little bit.
I think it's fine. Let's see what happens here in this final sector. Yeah, it seems to be fine. If you can make him through that final sector, then I think that is the worst of it gone, as now he starts his first flying lap at the end of this session. Let's see how he manages through this this first sector. Neat and tidy into turn 1 and 2. Turn 3 will be the true test, though, whether he can keep his car on circuit. Looking neat and tidy still, though, through there, making his way close to that line, but not touching it. You do not want to touch that line. It will be very, very slippery. 1.7 seconds off of Max Verstappen's time at the moment.
And of course, it will be quite a bit slower, because I think the track is still wet in some spots, of course. So he's going to have to just be wary of that. He doesn't want to end up in the wall and giving his engineers a nightmare there. But we'll try and push as much as he possibly can within the conditions he's got. So coming towards the Sector 2 now, I think it's going to be quite a bit slower than Verstappen. Yeah, he is going to be quite some way off of Verstappen's time. So clearly not quite ready for slicks, as Norris might think it is. 4.1 seconds behind Verstappen's time at the moment into Sector 2.
I think it's ready, though, for slicks. I think we'll see everyone out there very soon. You see him fighting the wheel there, though, in that final sector a little bit. But, I mean, he's still able to keep all 4 wheels on the circuit. Let's hope some other teams will box and put on some new tyres.
And just see a bit of spray there being kicked up to Norris. But yeah, that final sector looking a little bit better, but still almost 8 seconds behind Verstappen's slick time there. So clearly the track's still having a bit of an issue. Norris on the radio.
Lando is complaining a lot about the brakes, though, on the radio, so that may also be why he is not as happy out there.
Yeah, and Pierre Gasly just watching a replay here of him on his inters, and does he just maybe have a bit of a slide? He hits onto the line there and then comes through, Watching a replay here, comes in at pace and, oh my word, almost does lose it. Does end up into the gravel, manages to keep the car going though. But yeah, that could have been a disaster there for Pierre Gasly.
Yes, that could have been a big moment. Luckily, he wasn't carrying too much speed and he is able to keep going. They will be bringing his car into the pits, though, so they can check that flaw. As we do have a Ferrari getting out there on soft tires now. Carlos Sainz leaving the pits with 5 minutes left to go of the session.
Yeah, Carlos Sainz coming out on softs, as you say. So let's see how quick the Ferrari can go around. If anything from the McLaren was to say something, I don't think they're going to get around quicker than the Red Bulls. But hopefully they can get a little bit more data going in. We've got just under 5 minutes left of the session, as we said. So do be sure to stick around. Let's see what happens right at the end.
Lando Norris back on the radio saying currently we don't, well, sorry, his engineer saying to him, currently we don't see any problems on the brakes, but they will keep checking. So Lando Norris still not happy with his brake issue.
Very interested to see how Ferrari can do, of course, with a soft tyre run here as he comes around the final 2 corners, Sainz, to get ready to start his lap. Let's see how he fares.
Lewis Hamilton is back in his car now, wanting to get some more running on dry conditions. Didn't seem very interested in getting out there in the wet, but he is now back in his car. We have both of the Red Bulls in the pit still at the moment, as well as Russell, Hülkenberg, Piastri, Ocon, Magnussen, Gasly, and Logan Sargent. Alexander Albon is on an outlap though.
So Sainz 2.1 seconds behind Verstappen in that first sector. Still a bit slow in comparison. That was actually slower than the McLaren time. I think it wasn't Norris 1.3 seconds behind. So that's quite a bit slower.
I think it was.
Yeah.
Yes, it is quite a lot slower. A very interesting thing I've seen, and I noted during Ted's notebook a little bit earlier, is the fact that the Ferrari has uneven cooling ducts on the back of its car.
That is very, very odd.
It just shows maybe that there's an element on one side of the car that needs a little bit more cooling than the other. I mean, look on the right side, there's about 4 fins. Look on the left side, there's about 6. On the sides of the car, next to the,
Just looking now, just counting. 1, 2, 3, 4. Definitely 4 on that side. And then, there's 4 on the one, I think only 3 on the other, isn't it? Or something like that.
Yeah.
But, very, very interesting to note, as you say. So good spot that and noticing. And does it look like he's going again, Sainz? I think he's doing another lap on softs as well because he's opened up his DRS again the whole straight. So maybe he's going for another attempt.
We currently see Sergio Perez getting out there, as well as Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton, all making their way out on track at the moment. So all very keen to get in one last soft run before qualifying.
And somebody asking a forecast for the race tomorrow. Well, I don't. No, I think I'll go find out. I don't know if there is rain scheduled.
I'll have a look for you.
But Alonso now coming around on his soft tyre attempt. Let's see what sort of time he can put in on these soft tyres. As he opens his DRS in that second sector. It's going to be a lot quicker than the McLaren was. Just 3.4 seconds behind Verstappen's quick time. But again, reminding you that it was raining, of course, throughout most of the session. So the track is a little bit wet and not quite the same as it was earlier. But Alonso coming around a bit quicker than the McLaren was. So maybe this will be quite a quick time here. Just coming around the final 2 corners and should get round hopefully under 1 minute 20, 1 minute 18 perhaps, 1 minute 19 he puts it. So not too bad there from Fernando Alonso at all.
What time is the race tomorrow, Mark?
Yeah, good question. What time is
just
the race
looking
tomorrow?
Here at the weather that is predicted for Catalonia tomorrow for the region around the circuit.
It's at 3 o'clock.
There's a high chance of there's a high chance of rain at 2, moving to 5. So we may have a wet start to the race with drying conditions near the end.
So a wet start to the race could be very, very interesting for the race, of course, because Inters and everybody starting laps in the wet could be very dangerous conditions, as we're now following Hamilton, who's made his way off the track. We didn't think he was going to, but he is on track, and he's doing a soft tyre.
Yes, I did mention that he made his way out of the pits there. But he is currently 2.5 seconds off of Max Verstappen's fastest time out there. Interesting to see that it is still raining out on track, but all of these cars are able to do dry tyre running. Just being asked if the map and timetable
Yes, it
on
is.
screen is live. Yes, it is live. It is currently showing all of the drivers out on track. It is just their times are not being beaten because the track is not as quick as it was at the beginning of the session due to the rain that is falling.
Yeah, so all of that information is very much correct. But yeah, as Reese says, we're getting into the last second here, and boom, practice 3 is over. So let's see these racers come in for their final lap here. Red Bull following the Mercedes very, very closely around the final corner here. I think that is Sergio Perez, perhaps. Hamilton getting over quite a bit slower. Race controls noted.
I think he's doing a bit of a race simulation there to see if you are able to follow very closely. I think you can. It shows just how close you can run to the back of your competitors.
Indeed. So an interesting little piece of ending there in the session. And yeah, let's have a look at that at the session again, just one last time, as we see some of the cars just coming across the finishing line right now.
Yes, just to recap, our top finishers from the session are Max Verstappen in P1 with a 1:13.664. He put in that time before the rain hit here at the Catalonia circuit. Sergio Perez not far behind his teammates, 0.25 seconds behind Max Verstappen's fastest time. Then Lewis Hamilton in P3 in the Mercedes seemed to find a bit more pace with their upgrades this session. Carlos Sainz then in the upgraded Ferrari, 0.5 seconds behind Max Verstappen's fastest time. Fernando Alonso in that Aston Martin in P5, 0.6 off of Max Verstappen's time. Interesting to see that we have 4 constructors in our top 5. We then have P6, Russell, Charles Leclerc in P7, Valtteri Bottas in P8, Yuki Tsunoda in P9, Lando Norris, the first of the McLarens, in P10, Zhou Guanyu P11, Nick de Vries P12, Lance Stroll, P13, quite a way off of his teammate yet again. Nico Hulkenberg then in P14 for the Haas. Oscar Piastri, the second McLaren, in P15. Esteban Ocon, 16th for Alpine. Magnussen, 17th. Gasly, 18th. And then once again, the final 2 cars are made up of a Williams, and that is Alex Albon in P19 and P20 for Logan Sargent, who had that big shunt in the final corner, luckily not causing too much damage to his car, but causing the only red flag to the session.
And of course, now some drivers just doing some practice starts before they can end the session. This will be the last time they can get some proper practice starts. And of course, qualifying will come later. And of course, we will be streaming that as well. So be sure to stay around and stick around on the channel and like the video, subscribe, and turn on notifications as well, so you'll be notified when that stream starts as well. And we'll of course see you all later for that. But before we end the session, your highlights from that session. Is there anything that we've noted that's interesting to see?
Well, it was certainly interesting to see that the Mercedes are quite close at the moment. I mean, I didn't expect them to be. Just watching a replay here of, I think that is who is that? Nick de Vries getting held up by a Ferrari there. Not very happy there in turn 12. But yes, just carrying on. A big takeaway from this session is the fact that Mercedes are quite close. Not that far off the pace of the Red Bulls at the moment. Only 0.4.
Yeah, so Mercedes perhaps maybe found a bit of pace, as Reese says. So we'll see how these upgrades fare in qualifying later. And it's going to be a very, very interesting qualifying session indeed. And we'll see whether or not the Mercedes upgrades will put them ahead of the likes of Aston Martin and Ferrari, and more importantly, maybe even Red Bull.
Yes, I certainly hope they are competitive and take the fight to Red Bull for the race on Sunday, which certainly be a brilliant comeback story for the Mercedes outfit. Whether that will happen, though, we will have to wait and see till later on this afternoon, where we certainly hope we will be seeing you alongside with us. Thank you all for joining us in this session. Mark, do you want to sign off?
Yeah, sure. So, guys, thank you so much for watching. Charles Leclerc also going around there, just finishing off his lap. It's just also on the radio there. But nonetheless, guys, thank you so much for watching on Forever Sports. Of course, this is Forever Motorsports. We'll be back with qualifying later. I've been Mark. Reese has been Reese. And thank you so much for watching this free practice 3 session in the 2023 Formula 1 season. We will check you again later. Bye.